welcome back. I'm Ann Matuzak with Pixologie, and this is the next step in creating your family photo estate. So today we're going to address very briefly this, which if you didn't see us create the photo estate chaos or the before the photo estate, be sure and go back and watch the last video. Today we're going to talk about what's next. The first step is very simple, but probably very time consuming. And that is making sure that you have separated everything here into its own major category. In other words, videotapes, carousels of slides. All your slides are going to go into one place. And so you're going to start a corner of your table or maybe a stack on the floor, and you're going to start putting all of your slides there. Some of them will be in carousels, but other of them may be in little bags, and some of them may be in boxes. And you may encounter slides in a box of photos or in all sorts of strange places. So just keep adding them whenever you find them. You can see we've got old photos already started here. We've got a bin here. We've moved this bin to go with that as well. And we've got some DVDs here. And you might think, well, why DVDs? As technology has changed, many people over the years have taken their reel-to-reel film that started out maybe like this, or even in large rolls and reels like this, and they converted it to a VHS tape because that was the greatest technology of the day. However, as we now know in 2020, VHS tape's not such a great technology choice. So many people took this original piece and they put it onto a VHS tape. When we found out VHS tapes were not very good, they then had those VHS tapes transferred to DVDs. And guess what? DVDs are going away as well. So these are all part of your collection. I'm sorry if I made some of you groan because you just realized you have a whole family history on DVD, but make sure those become part of the story as well. So we're going to put those in a section. Depending on your family history of photos, you may have some other categories that are a little less common. For example, we have one client that has a huge collection on floppy disks. Now, important to know, disks are square and they are not floppy, but that's what they were called. So it's just another part. This was from the Rose Bowl in 2001. And it's disc 6 of 9, so we have a lot of work to do on this collection. You may encounter some of these. And in this case, when you look at it, you may have thought, those are films, I haven't even had them developed yet, oh my goodness. Well, while that may be the case in one of your drawers or boxes or bins, these are actually from a camera called an Advantix camera, and you got back your film not as negatives in a nice neat little package, but still on here. These are negatives, and those would go in your pile with negatives. So continue that process all the way through your collection. This is where you can pause the video and go start getting to work. But there's more that we want to talk about today than just working through getting your categories separated. And some of you may have started there. What we really want to start talking about is the volume of things that you have, the number of photos, the number of slides, the number of videos. The part that's most overwhelming is the vast collection of photos, printed photos that they have accumulated. Again, we'll address digital at another time. So when you're addressing printed photos, you're going to have boxes. You're going to have photos that are still in the original bags, the original envelopes that they came home in. That's all okay. In fact, some of that helps you date things and will help you use that to your advantage as we move forward. But one thing that many people have are stacks of photo albums. And you're looking at those albums, many of which you probably haven't opened in a few years, or be honest, maybe a few decades. And what are you going to do with them? We're going to advocate that most of those photo albums are not safe for your photos, and they were not meant to preserve them for the long term. So we're going to suggest, encourage, maybe not demand, but tell you our process at Pixologie. Remove the photos from the albums. So I have a couple different examples of albums that we encounter. I'm going to take you through the process for each one of those. So let's talk about your albums. You may have a wide variety of them. Some of them are going to be easier to work with than others, and some of them are going to be more meaningful than others. But here's the truth. For most albums, you can toss them. I know, that's a shocking word to use. In fact, our phrase we use for most people to ease them into that idea is let it go. Here's where we insert playing the music in the background. Let it go. For example, I'm going to start at the bottom of this pile, and I'm going to pull out a standard slide-in album. This lovely album held 6 photos per side, and all of these photos are a trip to Europe. Currently looking at this, I see one person in one photo, and it's the person walking in front of the castle, not anyone that she was personally acquainted with. Now, could we go ahead and remove all of these? Absolutely. Do any of these add to your family's story? Maybe one, just so that you can say, we traveled to England back in 1972, but most of this is not going to be relevant. Oh, great, 2 more pages of no people. Again, we want you to tell your family story with this. This is to capture not every picture ever taken, but to capture the essence of family life. Okay. Can you imagine having a photo of your great-grandmother in her kitchen with a freshly made loaf of bread? That would be really meaningful. Would you like her to have taken that same picture every single week when they made bread on Mondays for the entire time of her life? Probably not so meaningful. So think about that as you're going through your pictures. When you travel, pictures are beautiful, but do they tell part of your story? You can probably go through an album like this and choose the ones that are really meaningful. And unless this picture of the sky through the trees tells a story that was really important to you, let it go. So when you're going through albums, you're going to be pulling out pictures you want, and you're going to be making them meaningful. Now look, we start getting pictures of people, whole different story. I will say, go ahead and save maybe more than you actually need, because we can let go of them again later. It's going to be part of the process. The next album type that I'd like to address are these incredibly fragile family scrapbook style albums. These albums are clearly in really rough shape. Saving the album itself might not even be realistic. But what you may want to do, because there is writing under these pictures, is we may want to scan or capture each page before we take them apart. This can be a really important part of preserving handwriting and knowing the stories behind the pictures. In this particular case, this is a military album that will be eventually going to the State Military Museum. So are we saving this album? We are not, because there's not much of it left to be an album. Finally, an album style that many of us have seen through the years is the good old magnetic album, known to most of us as the sticky pages. Sticky pages are the bane of my life. But here at Pixologie, because we've been through several hundred of these types of albums, we know how to work with them. And so our next video is going to be all about getting your photos out of this album, because I promise you don't want to save this one. Be sure and subscribe to Pixologie on YouTube. Watch the next video, and we will help you safely remove your pictures from a magnetic sticky album. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.